there's a Polish funeral home, so even when you die, you don't need to speak English, you know what I mean? So, yeah, but I was really afraid. I waited like 2 months to post that video. Nobody cares about Poland. Sorry, guys, that's just the reality. It's like 80% Polish people just patting themselves on the back, being like, we are good. Can you believe it? He comes to our country to criticize our culture.
Boom! Boom! Cześć ludzie! What's up, people? Hola, JT here. Welcome to another episode. Today, you saw the title, the legend, the myth. One guy that we, because I'm gonna say we, as I consider myself a Pole at this point, we have embraced this person as waving the flag of what it is to be Polish culture, done with a little bit of humor, with smarts and wits. I present you on my channel, Mr. Dave Z Ameryki.
Thank you very much. But I'm neither a legend nor a myth, but I appreciate that was one of the better introductions I've ever had, so thank you.
When I started making content for this channel, you literally were one of the people that were already doing this. I was looking at your content. I'm not gonna lie, I was always a little bit jealous, as in good jealousy, because you were doing Polish, all Polish. And I'm like, oh, I wish I could have my Polish to that level. Then until I find out that you are actually Polish.
Yeah, I am Polish,
And then I was like, okay, fine. In that sense, that's not a problem.
You know, I view myself first and foremost as Polish, right? I'm always gonna be Polish first. But obviously I grew up in the US. I'm also very American. Yeah, I wonder like how people view me, right? But now other people know my story and know that I am Polish. And I wonder like what people, you know, think about me. But you know, you can't really control what people think of you, right? So if someone says, no, he's not Polish, he's American, or he's more American than Polish, you know, that's, I mean, they're allowed to think that. I don't know. I'm not going to be like, that's not true. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Where were you born? Are your parents Polish or not? Because I found out among Poles that is a thing.
Yeah, my parents are Polish, yeah.
Exactly. So what is your story, as in how you got to the US?
Yeah, like my parents like just lied and said they were going to Greece for vacation.
Really?
Because it was like during communism, right? Like I was born in the 80s. And so like my mom's mom actually, like her sister, somehow like some family member brought my grandma's sister to the US.
Okay.
And my grandma's sister brought my grandma and my uncle. But my uncle was under 18, so he could go with her. But my mom was over 18, so she couldn't go with her mom. So she stayed in Poland. Yes, they were trying to like bring my mom over. Then my mom met my dad, they got married. I was born, and the whole time they were like, all right, let's leave. Like I think neither of them really liked living in Poland. They weren't really happy with, you know, life, especially in the 80s. It was like martial law and like there was nothing on the shelves.
Better L times, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the earlier memories that you have of the culture clash, whether it's by what you saw yourself in school or at home? Yeah,
so like I think it depends. I think I just didn't speak English when I started school, right? So that was really confusing. Like I didn't know what was going on. Like I hated kindergarten and I never understood why. And now I'm like, oh, because I didn't understand what was happening. That's why, yeah. And also our teacher was like some old nun. So that probably didn't help. I went to like private Catholic school, so yeah, it probably didn't help.
Like a true Pole.
Like a true Pole, yeah. Although, you know, I guess people don't do that because you have religion in school in Poland.
Yes, of course.
Right, so my school was, but I think part of it was because we lived in cities. We lived in Boston, then we lived in Philadelphia, and public schools are bad. So they sent me to a private Catholic school.
Which is not common in Poland. In Poland, actually, usually public education tends to be pretty good.
Yeah, people criticize private schools. They say that they're bad.
Yeah.
Because you can get away with anything because you're paying for it. But as far as like cultural stuff, like I mean, I was a lot older, but I just remember like one time my teacher was like, hey, you know, it doesn't matter what you do for work or what kind of job that you have or how much money you make, as long as you're happy, you know? And then when I went home, my mom was like, the most important thing is money, is having a good job, you know, is being like a doctor or a lawyer and making a lot of money. That's the most important thing in life or whatever. And I was like, oh, well, those are two different things. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because that is a major cultural difference, I guess, between the American system and the Polish one, in the sense, or European one, I guess. Because in Europe, you have this thing where people live their lives, right? Like it's not all the work culture and the hustle culture.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's no like, you can be anything you want in life as long as you envision it. Here it's more like, shut up, go to do your job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Put bread on your table and don't complain. Or complain. That's it.
Yeah, complain, exactly. Polish people would just like scare their kids. If you don't go to school, if you don't get good grades, you're gonna be like living on the street. You're gonna be digging ditches on the side of the road. If you're a woman, you're gonna be cleaning houses, you know?
And then you're terrified. I don't want to do that.
And now, you know, there are plenty of Polish women who live in the US and clean houses and make a lot of money.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
I mean, it's a, you know, I mean, you find good clients that are wealthy. Like I know a lady who bought a house because she was a cleaning lady, you know what I mean? So I don't know.
When you think about your identity, do you feel more Polish? Do you feel more American? Or the in-between? What are the things that to you are more of one side or the other?
Well, I mean, I would call myself a Polish American.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that is what I am. I am an American, but I'm Polish, right? So I grew up in the US, but in like a Polish culture, like I grew up in a Polish neighborhood.
You did?
Yeah, I did, in Philadelphia. So like, you know, to this day, if you live there, you don't need to speak English. You can just speak Polish. Like,
No.
Yeah. of course.
Naprawdę.
Yeah, exactly. We had everything. We had like Polish church with Polish mass, Polish delicatessens, Polish, you know, stores, Polish doctors. There's a Polish funeral home. So even when you die, you don't need to speak English. You know what I mean? So, yeah. You don't need. I know people who have lived there for 30 years don't speak any English. You can take care of everything in Polish. Like there were so many Polish people where I lived that in my school, like so many Polish kids went to that school that every day it smelled like kielbasa in my school.
Really?
Yeah, because we had to bring our own lunches. So like either they had their lunches with kielbasa in it, or they were just burping up kielbasa. Because that's the thing about kielbasa is that it smells the same when it's fresh and when you burp kielbasa. It's like.
But when you started visiting Poland regularly, did you notice very big differences? Did you feel?
Oh, yeah, big time. Like I felt like I was in like Africa or something.
Really?
Like it was just so like, first of all, everything was so gray. But that's, as a kid, that's what I felt like. I felt it was like a third world country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was back in 1995, so things were way
different times, right? Especially before Poland joined the Union. I think things changed a lot after
It was
20.
big, like, yeah, it was
2001.
huge. I mean, there was like two currencies when I got there. It was the old zloty and the new zloty.
Really?
Yeah, and they were like transitioning. So you had like 100 zloty, which was the same as 1,000,000 zloty.
Wow.
And both were in circulation. And those were the times where you could like drink in public. And like kids would be sitting in front of these stores, like kids my age. Like I was like 11, 12,
And
13.
they
They
were
were drinking beer and smoking cigarettes in front of these stores. And you could like buy, it was funny because you could buy the drink without buying the bottle back then.
Yeah, of
Right?
course. You return it, right?
Yeah, you returned it, yeah. And then like my uncle sent his daughter, who's my age, to the store to buy him cigarettes. He's like, yeah, just tell them they're for me. And we went, and she's like, my dad wants me to buy him cigarettes. And they're like, okay, and just sold their cigarettes.
There it is.
And I remember once my mom got into an argument at the store 'cause she smoked. And so when I was a kid, I was like, hey, I'm like, my mom told me to buy her cigarettes. They're like, I can't sell it to you. I'm like, yeah, my mom's right there. And she's like, yeah, they're for me. And the lady's like, I still can't sell it to him. So my mom was like, what the fuck? Like, why wouldn't they sell it? She was all pissed off. Yeah.
Dave, did you ever get picked on when you used to come here? Like, your Polish is weird, or?
Yeah. So, well, it went both ways, right? Like in the U.S., like, because I lived in a big Polish neighborhood, there was a lot of like discrimination. You know? So like people were just like stupid Polacks, or like go back to Poland. Yeah. I mean, you know how it is when there's a large minority, the native people. I mean, if you want to call them native.
Yeah, exactly.
But like the people who are from there, right, born and raised, they weren't happy about it, and you know, especially kids. Kids can be mean, so
ruthless.
So yeah, stupid Polacks was a common thing. And then when I came to Poland, yeah, definitely, like you know, I was, not only did I have an accent when I spoke Polish, but like everyone back then was like super skinny. Like it was like people had 0% fat, and I was like, you know, not a fat kid, but I was like a little bit chubby, you know. And so they were like, look at this fat American here, you know. So they were like Not even the old people. They're like, oh, look at him, he's so fat. You know, like,
Really?
just like, yeah, of course. Like Polish people.
You have to say this is development, by the way.
Yeah, this is especially Polish women. Like, if you're not sure if you gained weight, just hang out with a Polish woman. She will absolutely tell you. It doesn't matter if it's like your family or like your friend. She will be like, oh, co ty przytyłeś?
So you have a channel, Dave Z Ameryki.
Yeah.
That's how I came to know you.
That's right.
When did you start your channel? Which year, and what brought you to pick up a camera and start making content in Polish? Because I don't think you have videos in English.
No, I mean a couple, but not many. Well, because so I started making videos in 2018, and then the channel started actually growing in 2019. And the reason was because I would just constantly get the same questions from Polish people. This was back when like I feel like Polish people have always really liked the US and probably still do, but less so than in the past. But you know, for most of my life, even back in 2018, people were like, oh my God, America's so great. It's the best country, and Poland sucks. Like, that's how Polish people spoke about those two countries. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, that's a weird. I'm like, have you been to the US? And they're like, no, but I want to go. That's so weird, right? Can you imagine if I was like, I love Mongolia. Have you been there? No, but it's my dream. Like, get a life, loser. Like, what? What are you talking about? So that was always weird to me, that people like glorified the US. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, there are better things in the US, but like there are better things in Poland, a lot better things. So that was shocking to me, is how people like, Polish people like thought about Poland so negatively, and they thought about America as like so great. And I was like, well, I mean, that's just not been my experience. It's not terrible, but coming back to Poland, I was just like, man, like this, and this is way better here. You know what I mean? Just the fact that you can like walk places.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
there's no walking. Look at this little squirrel. It's right there.
Do you think the American squirrels are as friendly as these ones? So you start making content based originally of questions that people would ask you, right? So
yes, and also it was based on like, you know, these preconceived notions people had of the US, and I always had to tell them like, yeah, I'm like, but we don't even have free healthcare. And they're like, what? Like, that was still surprising back then. Like, people didn't. Now I feel like everyone knows. But back then I'm like, yeah, like we don't have free education. Like, you know how much school costs? You know how much healthcare costs? And they're like, what? So, by the way, I'm not saying the healthcare in Poland is good, because that also sucks. You know, like, but
at least you won't die, right? At least you technically don't die.
I've heard it's pretty good in emergency situations. Yeah. Like, I've heard people who've had cancer, they said they've had like great experiences. Yep. So obviously that's great. And the other thing was that I wanted to like share my perspective of Poland and Polish culture, right? Because like growing up in a Polish home in the United States, like I immediately was like, oh, this is Polish, that's American, right? Like that's just, it was obvious. But like then I would come to Poland and I would see something and I was like, oh my God, that's so Polish. And my Polish friends were like, what? That is? And I'm like, oh, I'm like, you guys don't know?
You're not aware.
And I'm like, oh, so you just think it's normal that like, what, you just think like everyone eats cabbage every day? That's not normal.
Dave, from the hundreds of videos, you have hundreds of videos at this point.
I have a lot.
From the hundreds of videos that you have recorded, what is one video or two that completely surprised you by how it was received? It's something that you can go, you know, that made a big change in my thinking, or even in the course of my channel, doesn't matter.
One video I made, it was called like something like Polacy się boją wiatru, and it was like, our Polish people are afraid of wind, and it was all about how Polish people like are afraid of like przeciąg. You know what a przeciąg is. And that was, I was like, what? I thought it was just my grandma. I'm like, she's, you know, like a crazy old lady, so obviously she's gonna be afraid of some wind. And then I came to Poland and it's like young people also are afraid of przeciąg and air conditioning. And then they were like, yeah, I was driving, I had both windows open, and like mnie przewiało. Like, what is that? Like, it hit you, the winds hit you so hard, like ripped your stomach, like przewiało cię. Like, what is that? I don't even know how to say that in English. There's no such word for that.
So, but what happened with that video? Like, what was the
Oh, yeah.
comment? Or like, what was the thing?
So the thing is, like, I recorded that video, and actually it took me like a couple months before I posted it.
Yeah.
Because I was really afraid when I first started my channel. You know, because part of my channel is that like I just try to be honest and raw and real.
Yeah.
So if I like or don't like something, I'm honest. So
Yeah.
I'll criticize both American and Polish culture.
That's your signature.
I have no problem doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so but that wasn't always the case, right? I think like when I first started, you know, when you first start recording content, and you read some comments, you're like, oh no, like I want people to like me, you know.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
at some point, I was like, no, I can't do that. I can't like be worried about what people say. And I feel like a lot of people online just aren't able to take any criticism whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think
And,
it's,
like,
it's
they
that
ju- they
Polish
just-
thing also, right? Have you noticed that? Because your audience is mostly Polish,
Yeah,
or at
yeah,
least
they're mostly
associated.
Polish. Yeah.
I feel that here, and sorry that I interject you, but
Yeah.
I feel that here, people take things very literal. You say something, even though Polish people have amazing dark humor,
Yeah.
but it needs to be very obvious that this is humor.
Yeah.
But if you say something that you are like bordering the truth
Yeah.
and a little bit of fiction or a little bit of
Yeah.
a hyperbole or something, people get very triggered.
Yeah, and they'll be like, jak
I
ci się
know.
kurwa nie podoba, to wypierdolaj z Polski. Like that's, you know, that's like a thing. So at first I was like worried about that, right? And
Yeah.
then eventually, and then I made this video about, it was like very sarcastic, and I really made fun of Polish people for being afraid of like wind.
Yeah.
I even did a thing where I was like, yeah, like that's why like the Germans won World War II, because they attacked Polish people with fans, you know what I mean? And like, I think people like that, but I was really afraid. I waited like 2 months to post that
Really?
video. Yeah, because I was like, I don't know, man, maybe this is like too much.
I'm gonna hear about this.
Yeah, the whole video, I think it's like a 20-minute video. I'm just like ragging on them. I'm like, yeah, Polish people, man, when it comes to drinking alcohol, man, they can drink a lot of alcohol, but you put a little bit of wind, holy shit, their fucking head explodes. You know, they can't handle the wind. You can drink a ton of alcohol, that's fine, but you get a little bit of air conditioning, oh no, then you get cancer and AIDS at the same time, and your fucking head explodes on top of that. I think over time, I was always trying to be myself, right? And but yeah, I think it just took time.
Yeah, but it was kind of like the first. It was, let's say, it was like the window for you to see. Oh, I can be a little
Yeah.
bit more like myself,
Yeah, I think so.
and the
yeah.
world's not gonna end or anything
Yeah,
like that. No?
I think so. Yeah. You know, when I first started, I also didn't know how to behave in front of the camera. Because it's weird. At the time, I was also doing like I had done some amateur stand-up, which is a lot different because you're there, you're in front of people,
You see the
and
reaction.
you see the reaction.
You talked about comedy.
Yeah.
I went to your show.
Yeah.
You are on tour now.
You could say that. I mean, it's not a big tour, but yeah, I'm gonna visit several.
That's the
cities.
Polish side of him saying,
Yeah.
you know, if you're American, you say, yes, I'm on tour
'Cause
around Poland, you know, sold out.
Well, last year I did like 20 cities last year. Like
Don't
that,
be so
yeah.
Polish, be more American. He's on tour, guys.
Yeah, I'm the best, guys. No, I
Best
don't know.
comedian
Yeah.
in Poland coming from
Exactly.
America. What got you to putting together a tour and getting
Yeah.
in front of people, in front of Polish people for that
Right.
matter? How did that all come about?
Yeah, so like I said, I was doing some amateur stand-up before I started my channel. Not a whole lot, but like a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I had done it. It was like in Poland, but like in English. And then I started doing it more, and then I was doing it in Polish and in English. And yeah, I just liked it. Like I've done jobs that required public speaking.
Yep.
Right. When I was, by the way, I'm not a natural. When I was a kid, I was super shy. I hated giving speeches, super nervous. But with time, I was just kind of like had to. I think that's partially the American school system. That's one thing I'll give them, is that they kind of make kids learn to speak in front of other people.
Yep.
I don't think that's true in Poland.
Okay.
So when people say like, "Oh, Americans are stupid," it's like, yeah, okay, maybe they don't know where Zimbabwe is on a map, but they're probably better public speakers than you. So are they stupid? I don't know. It depends on how you define stupid, right? So in that sense, yeah. So I'm very grateful for that. And then I started doing stand-up. I was nervous about that too, because now you're not just talking in front of people, but you got to make them laugh.
Yeah.
It's extra pressure.
Yeah. And you have material.
Yeah.
That you kind of prepare. You're not just going off the cuff. You have some material
Yeah.
that if you I would assume that it's like that. If you forget the flow of the material,
Yeah.
the punchline doesn't really work.
Oh yeah, I mean it's all about timing and stuff like that for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, but I saw you live not that long ago, probably like a month and a half ago or something like that, and your comedic timing. Again, what I understood more than I thought, to be honest. But the comedic timing, but what struck me as very interesting, especially for a content creator. Content creators, we can be weird as fuck. You know, we can be in front of cameras a certain way, and then behind the camera or in person, people are like. But what struck me was that you seemed completely natural. You were talking to people. You guys have to make it to one of his shows. Again, I'm going to put in the description box. It's going to be.
But it's in Polish though, so.
I have a lot of audience Polish.
Ah, got it. That's the funny thing, man. Is that if you start a channel about Poland in English, it's going to be 80% Polish people. It's not like, it's like, get out of here, Polish people. What are you doing? Like, why do you care so much what people think about you, right? It's like, it's really funny, because if it wasn't for Polish people, English channels about Poland would just fail terribly, right? Because first of all, nobody cares about Poland. Sorry, guys, that's just the reality, all right? Except for Polish people who care too much. They're like, oh yeah, it's some guy from another country? Let's see what he thinks about our country. You better say just positive stuff or we're gonna write terrible things in the comments. That's it. And they're like, it's like they're working for the Polish government. Like, I gotta make sure he's saying good stuff about Poland, because if he's not, he's in trouble. Yeah,
but you know, you have an advantage over any of us that make content because you're Polish. So it's like, you know, like I can talk shit about Dominican Republic, I'm Dominican. Although I have to say, I have made my fair share of videos that are, you know, that have negative things. And my audience is the best. Like, they have taken it very kindly. I get very little hate.
I feel like you're probably like super nice about it though.
Before we wrap up, my question to you is this. Undeniably, Poland has become like it. Especially among like the place to be, the place to come and explore, make content, obviously.
Yeah, that's because it's easy to make content about Poland. You just have to talk about how much you love Poland, and then like Polish people watch, and they're like, yeah,
and the views roll.
This is it. It's like 80% Polish people just patting themselves on the back, being like, we are good. See, people like us. We are likable, right? Right? Please tell us that we're cool.
And we're gonna give you the views, and we're gonna give you the,
yeah, we'll watch your content. Yeah, just tell us more about why you like us, please.
To be honest, there's a very big factor of that. For example, I encounter myself now these days, sometimes making content, that I know it can be a little divisive. Because precisely, it's like been there, done that, right? Like when I started making videos for YouTube, it was a journey of discovery. I was not living in Poland yet. My wife is Polish though, and I used to come all the time. From the very beginning that I came here, one of the first things I told my wife, this is a place, because she was, as a true Pole, asking me, what do you think? You know, you have all this, you know, blocky and all this stuff. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I get it, the blocky is not pretty, but there's a vibe in this country that I really feel connected. But when I was discovering the country and the culture, I made a lot of videos about things that were surprising to me, things that were, okay, this is great, I like this. People like, to my defense, I've always made videos, also things I hate.
Can you believe it? He comes to our country to criticize our culture. Let's cancel him, right?
Only with Dave, you can have a conversation that just back there he's telling you guys how, you know, we Americans. That's how it works, man. Do you think Poland is just being overhyped by the likes of us? Or do you think that honestly, Poland, there's substance?
Yeah, definitely. No, Poland's great. You have like 3-4 months, maybe 5 if you're lucky, where Poland is great. The rest of the time, it's pretty awful.
Really?
It's just gray.
I like
no
it, man.
Sun. Well, I'm glad somebody does, all right? I'm glad somebody does.
I've always thought of Poland before coming as this cold, dark land.
Yeah.
But the summers are not at all.
Summers are great. Well, maybe not right now. By the way, this is being recorded in June, and I'm wearing a jacket.
Yeah, you even had a scarf before.
I did, because I was riding a bike, to be fair. I was riding a bike. I mean, like I said, 4 or 5 months out of the year, it's very nice. Yeah, it's quite comfortable. It's not too hot, right? Especially being from Florida. The summers are awful in Florida, right?
Oh my
Super
God,
hot.
yes, of course.
I'm guessing the Dominican Republic too, right?
Exactly the same.
So, you know, we wait for the winter, which is essentially, by the way, the winter is actually warmer than this in Florida.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Than right now.
This would be like a cold winter day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
People would be like wearing jackets. It's, oh my God, it's so cold.
So when people say, oh, Poland's not a cold country, I'm like, really? Because your summer is like my winter. Dealing with the cold is one thing, but if it was cold and sunny, that would be a different thing, right?
Okay.
But the lack of sunlight is, I'd say, the worst thing about Poland during the colder months.
Yep.
And Poland's neighbors. So Poland is great. Poland has come a long way. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people say it's going to be one of the best countries in Europe, if it's not already. You know, when I bring my friends over here and we travel around Europe, they almost always tell me my favorite country that I visited in Europe was Poland. And they go back to the US and they tell their friends, and they're like, yeah, their other friends are like, how was the Europe trip? And they're like, yeah, it was awesome. What was your favorite country? And they're like, Poland. And they're like, ugh, Poland? Like, they can't even believe it. So absolutely, you know, Poland is great. There's a lot of great things about it. But for me, in my opinion, the things you can't change are the neighbors.
Yep.
Not great neighbors, right? So some of them.
Questionable.
Some of them, right? And especially from a historical perspective, and some of them even now, right?
Yep.
And then the weather.
Dave, what is the future for you? For your channel? You know, Dave has Dave Z Ameryki, right?
You know, I'm doing some shows, but I'm also doing tours around the US.
Oh, really?
So yeah, if you want to come visit, I'm doing a trip to New York in October. I'll probably do some Florida trips. I've done already a couple Florida trips. I'd like to do a trip to New Orleans. So places like that. So yeah, if you want to come on a trip to the US, and it's going to be in English too. So like,
really?
I'm bringing like Polish people, and it's going to be like an English learning thing, right? So we're going to be immersed in the culture and the language, and we're going to, you know, I'm going to take them to get like some good food. It's like spending time with me for a week.
Okay.
That's not a comedy tour. It's like a visiting tour.
Okay.
Right?
So you take people with you.
Well, they fly in, right? And they'll spend like 5 days or a week with me.
And you take them around, the whole experience.
Exactly, and it's in English.
Dave.
Yeah.
Dude, it's been a massive pleasure.
Thank you.
To have you on my channel.
Thank you.
You know what? I'm committing him on camera to do another episode.
Yeah, but people might not like this, and they'll be like, "This guy sucks.
This guy
made fun of Poland too much, or whatever."
People are gonna like it. Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me. I have a smart audience, and they know when they see a good.
Maybe that's why they
person.
won't like me. They're like, "We're too smart to fall for his bull."
Yeah. You didn't say enough kurwa, so
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, "That's a good guy. You know? He is a well-behaved gentleman." Once again, dude, bardzo dziękuję.
Bardzo proszę.
It's been a pleasure, guys. See you on another episode.
See ya.